Most programming languages support the ability to create reusable code blocks that you can call from multiple places in an application. These are sometimes called functions or subroutines, but in Java they're called methods, and they're always declared as members of a class. The main method is one example. This is the signature of a method that you have to start up an application from the console. But not all Java applications use this main method. For example, an Android application or a Java EE application have different requirements. Regardless, you can create your own custom methods and then call them from anywhere in your application. I'll declare a new method, and I'll place it outside of the existing main method, but still within the class declaration. In order to call this method from my main method, I must declare it initially as static. Then I have to declare what kind of data the method is going to return. I'll say void, which means it's not going to return anything. Then I'll name the method loopit and add parentheses. If you want to pass in arguments or parameters, you would declare their types and names here. After the parentheses, you place a code block, a pair of braces, and then the executable code for the method goes there. Now I'm going to take this existing code, and I'll cut and paste it and place it within my new custom method. Then I'll go back to the main method, and I'll call my new method by calling loopit. Notice that IntelliJ IDEA already knows about the method and helps me complete the typing. I'll remove some extra space here to make this as concise as possible, and then I'll run the code. And there's the result. When you declare your methods, you can also declare arguments. I'll place the cursor inside the method declaration, and I'll declare one argument, a string that I'll name label. Then, within the method, I'll output that string using system output, and I'll pass in the label as the argument to println. I'll run the code again, and I get an error, and that's because I changed the signature of the method here, but I didn't change the way I was calling it here. So, to make them compatible with each other, I'll add in a literal string. I'll run the code again, and then I'll scroll back up to the top of the result, and there it is, months of the year. Right now, this custom method isn't doing much. It's just taking information and outputting it. But let's say you wanted to operate on the value in some way. I want to print a line of asterisks right below the label, and I want it to be exactly the right length, the same length as the label itself. So I'm going to create an incrementing loop, and I'll keep looping until I get to the end of the label. Within the for loop, I'll use system.out.print, and I'll output a single asterisk character. Then, at the end of the loop, I'll do one more print, and this will be with println, and this will serve to simply print a line feed. And there's the result. A label and a line of asterisks below the label that's exactly the right length. Finally, I'll demonstrate that I can call this method any number of times. I'll duplicate it a couple of times, and then I'll change the labels to second run and third run. And notice that the three strings are different from each other and have different lengths. I'll run the code, and I see that I've called the method 3 times, and each time the appropriate label is printed and a row of asterisks is printed that's exactly the right length. I'll talk a little bit more later about how to use methods that return values, but this example gives you an introduction for how to declare your own methods and how to accept values as arguments and execute code based on those arguments.